Hey, like I mentioned before, it felt like at the height of my greatest pains, my greatest grief was also like my greatest success because, I mean, the Bible says a man's gift, a man's talent, what I'm saying, makes room for him and brings him before great men. You know, I mean, I live my life, thinking of putting God first, and then, seeing how I can use what God, what circumstances, I feel like what circumstances my life became as a result of, following the Lord, that I use that in order to see what I can use, like build or create, like like a castle. I can build it, a conceptual castle that I can build, for the glory of God. That's what, I looked at my whole contribution as. It was like a light empire, if you will, kind of. But that's, the nature of it is different than what I had in mind initially. But, it accomplished the same purpose. It's just in a different way. Instead of just focusing on being great, I had to use my testimony, instead. You feel me? I had to talk about my life, for walking with the Lord. Instead of, I got bits and pieces of people seeing like what direction I was heading in as far as like my innovative brands, ideas, all of this, the whole concept, I'm furniture, just those are just bits and pieces, what I'm saying, of like, what I, like what, how my creativity was, and, it's tons more where that came from, that's just like the tip, you feel me? That's just a little bit of, what I'm saying, like, I mean, I got, so much stuff, that God could give me. I mean, at this point, God not really interested, what I'm saying, in restoring the whole world, like, in this way. You feel me? God go, God got, God is undefeated. God always got a better plan, better way. So He work all things for the good of those that love Him and called according to His purpose. So no matter what, the saints they're going to be victorious in the end, regardless. So I mean, but that's what the situation was, man. And so, it was a massive attempt, and I've been subject to an extraordinary and unnatural, types of persecution. It's far from normal. The gravity, the sheer immensity of the things that I've been going through all these years, is one of those situations that if you're going through it, it's so, it's like void. You know what I'm saying? It's so much that you don't have time to process or fully process, things that already happened. You feel me? And then new stuff happened, and it just like it's over stimulation. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much evil happened to you. It's, it's being did on purpose. That. And it become an outstanding situation. Then before you know it, it just all combined into one long timeline. Then you forced to repress it and cope. Because I mean, if you do the most they say a civilian can do, and nothing changes, then what else can that civilian do? You got no choice but to repress it, which creates distress, and it's just a ever compounding situation. You feel me? It's horrible. And I mean, that's the life that I've known. And then when I wouldn't learn until later that, it was actually a part of a larger, long-standing situation. And it was worse. I just had no understanding of, what my life was being turned into, intentionally when I was younger. I didn't know. I couldn't see the chess moves that were being made, like, to destroy me in advance. You feel me? And so now when you look at the times, you consider all the things that transpired in my, youth, like, young years, all this torture technology and stuff that was in me, and, all these different, merciless things that happened. When you consider, in latter times, which is now, a lot of the slanders, character attacks, defamations, just all these things that were used to like result in my murder. And man, you could tell that there has been an agenda present, like somebody or something. I call it maybe an organization, a group, movement, ideology. It's been working to accomplish this result. Then you look at my talent, you look at testimony already disclosed, you look at the events, tragic things that's happened in my life that's common knowledge to the public. Before it was common knowledge to me, though, before I understood, it was already a situation that was apparently, viral. And I mean viral already, talking about like, about 15, 16, 17 years ago already. You feel me? Viral back then, and I, when I was pretty much, just like I had no kind of knowledge of nothing. Didn't know nothing about life at all. Let alone this kind of stuff. So, it was a situation that I was pretty much sabotaged in advance. And it was something that was pre-planned since my birth. I mean, literally. I've been getting void the whole time in one way or another. And I mean, so when you look at the slanders and things, you see the likeness of the whole situation. I mean, when you see the nature of it, and you have no responsibility. I mean, you can't help if somebody, slander you or something without your knowledge. And for you to be punished because somebody slandered you without your knowledge, with death and things like that, with structured knowledge, that's showing that, I mean, if all you stood for is Christianity, and that's happening to you, and that's showing that society had taken a turn, contrary to what it says it was founded upon, the things, that's the opposite. Because if I mean, your fruit, the fruit tells you, like the Bible tells you, the fruit tells you about the trees. You know what I'm saying? You see my fruit, and that's my writings, my recordings like these. All this is my fruits. The fruit tell you the tree. That's how you know what kind of tree you dealing with, by what kind of fruit on the tree. That's how you could tell. And I mean, yeah, a bad tree don't produce good fruit, and a good tree don't produce bad fruit. These are facts, man. But yeah, man. But I've seen, I'm the witness and the victim of these things only, of what I've gone through, and to be antagonized for being a victim and a witness of what happened to you wrongfully already, on top of everything that transpired with, foolproof, facts and everything, is very, very suspicious. You know what I'm saying? That's showing that there is an overall, and I mean, and my testimony itself protects itself, you know what I'm saying? Because I prove that there was a premeditated agenda already in progress, even before my awareness of it. And it was something going on before I started writing, in all honesty, and that's weird. That's saying something, and it was a premeditated agenda of somehow later, being able to take and destroy my contribution in advance, to disinvent my legacy. You got certain influential figures were actually paid, to say certain things at certain times from certain positions or with certain amount of clout and things that they had in order to like trap me behind them. So it was like I was intentionally came for like that, So, people were exalted, and then told to say certain things, in order to be like a cage for me. Because they can use, they clout, to protect them from justice. You feel me? They can use they clout to protect them from, or to, put me in a position where I have no choice but to accept my stuff being lost, absorbed, destroyed, lost, absorbed, and then destroyed. Like a process trifecta. You know what I'm saying? Right in front of my face, and there's nothing I can do about it because nobody else don't know what's happening. And that was how it was designed. And if you're a creator, original creator, and you got more to give the world, more to offer the world than the things that's against you, then that's especially grievous, because you know what you're capable of, but you're unable to display it. And I mean, it's just like it's people that it's some people that's born to, it's certain things people are born to do, you know what I'm saying, things to their talent, what they love to do. And I mean, for me to be antagonized for having a talent, a literary talent, is almost unfathomable. I mean, my intentions of these testimonies and things is ultimately to bring glory to God. As I've spoken on several times in the past, I hated that, that these things happen to my purpose. It happened to my life and my legacy. But I mean, this is now my legacy, because it's my life, it's what I've gone through. But I would have preferred not. But I mean, now, it's like, it also shows strength, and it shows, because I mean, guys, this whole testimony, all of it, if people pay attention, all of it is showing my weakness. The Bible says you can boast in your weaknesses. This whole time, that's what I'm doing. I'm always talking about how I'm getting, bored, what I'm saying? Like, pretty much, I'm talking about my weaknesses, what I'm saying? Because the Lord say, in our weaknesses is His strength made perfect. And that's what my whole testimony is. I'm talking about weaknesses, things that I have no defense against, things that, I could do nothing about, attacks I've been under. It's all showing that I'm, it's my weaknesses. That's what I brag about, my weaknesses, my infirmities. And I mean, in that, God be glorified, because it's showing that it's not my strength or my power, that allow me to be able to make a positive impact for God. But it's God's will, so I mean, but you see though how I was kind of like boxed in, caged in. And I've been pretty much in the cage since I was like 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? Literally, just a remote way of doing so, like a remote intellectual type of ordeal, to where I've been pretty much, in the cage for a long time. But in my latter years, I was in the best position, you know what I'm saying, that I could display, my ministry. As some people look at it as my talent, it's a ministry, what I mean? The things that I could have did, to glorify God, it wasn't just about my rhyme, what I'm saying? That got the most attention because that was being used as like, that was a part of me that was being, like, let's say, grabbed. You feel me? Like, it's kind of like a situation where, if you got a tree and then it got different branches, or now, I mean, it's, I'm trying to think of like a way of putting it. It's like, it's different ways that you can glorify God. You don't have to just do it with literature or with psalmistry. But if you wanted to, God created psalmistry, so it shouldn't be no problem. You feel me? Because God created it. So it's like, that's a part of God. But look, the devil get in everything, distorted, twisted everything up, for a long time. But it's like, it's I'm trying to think of a better analogy. It's like, I guess I just got to go in the abstract with this parable. Just imagine like this, imagine like a spear, when it has a whole bunch of appendages, like all around it perfectly, like a perfect spear, and it has a bunch of appendages coming from like all over it, like in perfect, perfect measurement and things. And it's like each appendage has, it's like a brain around you, like a branch, and it just, it can stem off into different things. You know what I'm saying? And so imagine that, and imagine rhyming, in this literature and things like that. Symmetry being one of the appendages, and that's what. And imagine this just giant red dragon, or the devil, or whatever. There's a line of biblical, and imagine him just like he grabbed. That's one of the most influential things. You know what I'm saying? Literature, art, psalmistry, All those are some of the most influential things. So that's going to be one of the things that the devil most critical of. The devil try to defile the most and try to make sure limit control or limit your attitude. You feel me? For your attitude for that particular thing, because it's one of the most influential things in the world. And that's music and stuff like that. And so imagine that being like one branch or one appendage of the spear. And it's like that's what the devil used. He grabbed it and he used it to like drag me. You feel me? To drag me into destruction, into death. So that's one of the things. So it's tons of other different realities and possibilities of things. You know what I'm saying? But by this happening to me and it's dragging the whole spirit that is, it could be my legacy. It dragged the whole spirit to death. So the rest of the stuff going to death too. You feel me? Before it even get a chance to get embraced. You get what I'm saying? So they target just this and try to drag me and counsel me with this only. You see, when there's tons of other stuff that unembraced that I never got to, but they want to see that or try to force me to display that so they can take that and then drag me to death anyway. And that's what's going on, So it's a complicated situation, but it's absolutely horrendous. Like it's a gargantuan hatred. The only way I could describe it is like a supernatural hatred. The things that I've been subjected to in just the last 7 years alone has been enough to way past, to make the average thinking person, like the average person, way past the point of making them like, it go way past the shock of consciousness. The things I've been going through for absolutely no reason. You feel me? No reason. Then I get lied on. And then, when there ain't no reason and the world sees no reason, then that's when these influential figures, some artists, they start lying. Like let's shoot a lie in there to justify to keep that door open. Because when I prove that there ain't no basis for their presence that they using to destroy my legacy, then that door start closing. And then when they see that door start closing, and the door is like their presence in my life, they ain't got no business there. So when I prove and disprove all the stuff, that door start closing, because as it should, the door should already been closed for the last 23 years. But so when they see that door start closing and things start going back the way it should be, for a rational minded person and somebody who doing the will of God, and a blameless person, that is not in any way guilty or anything of any of the slanders and stuff, So when that door started closing shut and it's almost shut, then that's when they shoot a lie out there. You feel me? That's when they throw the lie that already been disproven. They throw it out there because the nature of the lie itself, is enough to get people attention. So they think of something ridiculous. They think of ridiculous stuff in order to keep them and justify their presence in your life. And with that presence, then they open that door back with that lie. You feel me? Then the door fly back open, and then they come right back in, and then the influential, they start the process all over again. It happens all year, every year, regardless of structure knowledge or society knowledge, global knowledge, and why they in that room, that they could take it, aesthetics, ideas, dynamics, and if you got like a little personal garden in your room or something, you done sprouted some more plants and stuff after the ones you sprouted last week had them been stepped on by the same strategy. The flowers you sprouted last week had been stepped on, and then some got yanked up and things like that. The week before that, the week before that, the week before that, the week before that, the month before that, the month before that, the month before that, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that. It's like non-stop. You feel me? It's the same strategy they use it. You know what I'm saying? That's how they open up the doors that don't supposed to be open. You feel me? Doors that ain't meant for them. You know what I'm saying? And then when you look at the nature of the situation, you start to see what happened. You got people that were literally influential figures that were literally, you could think of them like, okay, everybody had, it's people who had their times and stuff, And now, this was like a new age. You feel me? A time in history where God could have been, exalted, glorified, and then godly kingdom and empire could have rose all the way to power at the pinnacle, all the way up. Especially, with art and things. This was a time in history for that. So when you see what happened, well, this whole situation has been like a pre-planned situation, because you got certain, like, it's people who, it's people who not in art, and they don't really care about art. But what they do care about is impact, you feel me, and control and domination. And so they have people that they can, so when they see something impactful was coming, but it didn't look the way they wanted it to look or whatever, they catpole. So they could tell people, like, it'd be some guy that was in bed, you feel me, like, some guy that's tired, you feel me, that you know what I'm saying, there's it could be somebody that's not completely interested in the agenda, but they focus on just living out their best years or golden years, and say they did have type of powers or strengths that could be used to accomplish the agendas of these people who don't care about art but just care about impact, you feel me, or they care about influence, you feel me, or things like that. So they could they go way over, they wake these people up, you feel me, people that don't, wake these people up and get them involved in things, bothering them, you feel me, getting them involved in things to facilitate their purpose, and tell them to do certain things to, accomplish and facilitate their secret ulterior and hidden agenda that they were already on. How they got on that agenda is subject to, the debate. But the fact is, they own that agenda. Now, they may have been on it for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or they might just been on it the last 7 years or 10 years. You don't know. But they own it. And so they get such and such involved with, they get some people involved in this to aid in the disinvention of the impact or the disinvention of the influence. You know what I'm saying? Because that's their motive. That's what they see. That's their goal. They care less about art as they do the influence of, the artists, and me being able to, and me with my whole goal and everything was for God. But some people's lust for control and domination, or it's like groups, or, it could be a band. I call it like the Baphomet. It's a band of just influences, or some above the law, you feel me? And so they look at that as like, for whatever they wanted to do, or whatever plans they have for society, my impact for God is a problem for that. It's a threat for it. You know what I'm saying? No matter, even though it's for God, they looking at the part of it that is influential. You feel me? They looking at the influence aspect of it, and that in itself gives them, they not comfortable with that type of power, you know what I'm saying, in society that they not doing themselves. So there's no room for godly messenger. There's no room for servant of God in society. You feel me? And so you see what's happening to my legacy. It's been systematically disbanded and disinvented over the course of a long time. It's premeditated, true, but these years were some of the years where I would be in the best position to, be the most influential for God. Feel me? And that's what's been happening. So yeah, I know this recorded kind of all over the place, but it's just a lot I wanted to cover, man. It's so much, it's, man, I don't know what it's so much to talk about, man, to be honest. So many things that, I just wanted to keep people educated about spiritual reality. Also, going spiritual warfare. All this is spiritual warfare. Encapsulated this whole situation is spiritual warfare. It's God versus Satan. You know what I'm saying? It's good versus evil. You know what I'm saying? It's light versus darkness. That's what all this is, fundamentally. It's the same ancient battle that been going on since the garden, way back, and it's like, the Bible parallels, you feel me? And these are the end times. You feel me? This is the end times. God is sooner going to destroy all evil, and just create a new earth things. So But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. I want to put things in perspective. So when you understand this, you understand you can easily put a lot of other pieces in place, from the past, events that's happened over the last 20 years, 30 years, just a while, and I mean, even things before my birth, line up, you feel me? Anybody who got discernment and wisdom. So you realize that when you understand that, then you understand that a lot of later accusations of which time has already passed, they were false, you feel me? And because there was no basis or foundation for them, then, you realize that the whole thing is a giant sham. And it's been a giant sham for a long, long time. It's one of the greatest disappointments. It's one of the greatest deceptions in history. You feel me? It's one of the greatest deceptions in history. And, by falsehood being etched in stone, that was supposed to, cage me or box me. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things. That's why I said purple. That's why I said grass is green, not purple. You know what I'm saying? Because, the bottom line is, wherever you go, grass is normally go be green. You feel me? Or some variation of green. That's the way God made it. Very rarely is you gonna see grass in nature just purple. And somebody take a picture of purple grass and hang it on their wall, you feel me? Then that's not, for those who are normally, familiar with, green grass, that's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? That they got a picture of purple grass hanging on their wall. You feel me? That's not my fault. You feel me? Who's to say that my life would revolve around grass in the first place? Think about it. You feel me? That's what they're imposing on me because they have some type of agenda or selfish ambition. My life shouldn't be destroyed because of that, especially after they've been exposed. And since, with the situation being shown to be a premeditated situation, then a lot of stuff should be nullified. Just like the fact of my stuff being in jeopardy, my contribution being in any type of jeopardy. You know what I'm saying? Because if it is, then that shows that was a situation that was premeditated, and preemptively arranged, organized, with a goal of destroying my work specifically. You know what I'm saying? Which my whole testimony encapsulates the whole process of it, the whole thing happening. You feel me? So there's no way possible it should be, completed anyway, for under any circumstances. Well, that shows that's intention. That shows that the entire situation was actually organized by structures and possibly injustices. You know what I'm saying? If my stuff still remained in jeopardy after I prevented the whole situation years ago, with the truth and wisdom I had disclosed to the world years ago, the current situations that's happened in my life cannot be. It is like impossible, let alone for my literature and things to be in jeopardy for any reason. Oh, that shows it's a massive collusion against God at this point, because God is more than shown the world, Himself. So it's a lot of aspects to this persecution. It's a lot of it. So much, man. Man. But this one here, I'm gonna close it off though. I might add some extras. I might add some continuations to it, but I wanted this right here, this message to be out. Yeah, man. Life is I think life is a mosaic,